He had devised a way to return from death. He had armies, allies, and a secret plan to come back if anything ever went wrong. None of it mattered in the end. And so, the story begins. Hey, Leora.
Hey, so last time we left Lei Shun standing at the head of a united Mogu Empire, and this whole cast of new characters just arriving on the scene. The Jinyu, the Hosen, the Pandaren, the August Celestials.
Right, and given what we already know about Lei Shun's whole worldview at this point.
It does not go well for most of them.
I was afraid of that.
The Jinyu actually put up a real fight. They'd built a genuine little empire of their own before Lei Shun ever came knocking. And they had an ally. The Hosen, those jungle monkeys, had promised to stand with them against the Mogu.
Okay, that's something.
Right up until the night before the final battle, the Hosen switched sides, secretly cut a deal with Lei Shun for better treatment, and abandoned the Jinyu completely.
Oh, come on.
And here's the truly bitter part. The deal was never honored. Lei Shun didn't actually think any better of the Hosen for it. He just used them, took what he needed, and moved on. The Jinyu's empire fell apart, and the two races ended up hating each other for generations over it.
Betrayed your ally for a reward that was never coming.
Meanwhile, the Pandaren saw what was happening and fled north to Kunlai Summit, hoping the White Tiger himself would protect them.
Xuan.
Xuan accepted Lei Shun's challenge directly, a duel for the fate of an entire people. And it raged for days, storms tearing across the mountain, the sky itself shaking.
And Xuan lost.
He couldn't match stolen Titan power. Lei Shun chained him near the summit and forced him to watch as the Pandaren were dragged into slavery. And when the other Celestials came to help...
Same result?
Same result. All four eventually subdued. Worship of them banned completely, on pain of death. A few brave Pandaren kept the old teachings alive in secret, but publicly, the Celestials were erased from the Pandaren's world.
So by this point, Lei Shun has basically conquered everyone around him.
Everyone. And now we get to see what he actually did with all that power. Because conquest was just step one.
What was step 2?
Total control. Lei Shun established the first known set of written laws in Azeroth. Taken together, the laws enforced one basic idea. The Mogu stood above every other people in the Empire.
That tracks with everything we've seen of him.
He put his slaves to work building the Empire's greatest monuments, palaces dripping in gold, and one massive project in particular, the Serpent's Spine.
Anyone who played through Mists of Pandaria will remember it. The wall built to hold back the Mantis.
Exactly. Under Lei Shun, it got expanded into something enormous, genuinely comparable to the Great Wall of China, both in scale and in purpose. Built by forced labor meant to project one message: we are permanent and nothing gets through.
There's something very First Emperor about all of this, honestly.
It's a striking comparison, and I think a fair one. Not because Lei Shun is meant to literally represent any real historical figure, but because the pattern is so recognizable. Total central authority, brutal law, forced unification of language and measurement, monumental construction on the backs of the conquered. That specific flavor of iron-fisted empire-building rule shows up throughout real history, and Lei Shun's Mogu Empire hits almost every beat of it.
And on top of all the physical control,
he went after the mind, too. Banned reading, writing, any language but Mogu speech. Banned worship of the Celestials. If the Pandaren's peaceful philosophy could plant doubt about Mogu supremacy, it had to go completely.
Control the labor, control the language, control the gods people are allowed to believe in.
That's the full package. And under that system, brutal as it was, the Mogu Empire actually thrived. Grew wealthy, grew powerful, grew large enough that word of it started spreading to civilizations who'd never heard of the Mogu before.
Who noticed?
The Zandalari trolls. And this is where I think Lei Shun's story gets genuinely interesting to sit with. Because if you go back to who he was at the very start.
The warlord's son who walked away from power instead of spilling more blood over his...
That guy. someone who took real pride in the Mogu's Titan-forged origins and saw their endless infighting as a betrayal of everything his people were supposed to be. And now look at him, a tyrant who outlawed the Pandaren language, crushed their faith, and even chained the august Celestials to mountainsides. Something shifted along the way.
It's almost like the thing that made him dangerous in a good way, that refusal to accept things as they were, just kept growing after he had all the power in the world to act on it.
That's a genuinely sharp read, and it's roughly how I see it too. This isn't confirmed anywhere in the text as some deliberate character arc, just how the shape of events reads to me. The same conviction that once made him walk away from petty warfare eventually curdled into something much colder, once there was nothing left to check it. Pride. Certainty that he alone understood what the Mogu should become, and enough raw power that nobody could tell him otherwise.
So, the trolls showed up.
A Zandalari high priest named Zulathra led the approach, and his pitch was simple. The Mogu have power, the trolls have knowledge of the land, let's make each other stronger.
And Leishan just agreed to share power.
Not exactly out of trust. Here's the honest version. Both sides were scheming from day one. Zulathra figured the trolls could eventually learn enough Mogu secrets to steal Leishan's power outright. Leishan figured he'd enslave the trolls the moment they stopped being useful. Neither side told their own people any of this.
So it's basically a business partnership, where both parties are already planning the hostile takeover.
Exactly. Publicly, though, it looked clean. The Mogu would teach the trolls arcane magic, hand over some fertile land near the Vale, and through that trade, both empires grew stronger, far faster than either could have alone.
And neither betrayal ever actually happened.
That's the strange part. They kept scheming privately for years, and the partnership just worked. Genuinely useful to each other for a long time. And Leishan trusted Zulathra with something he wouldn't trust his own Mogu with.
What kind of something?
He'd figured out a way to come back from death. Fully revive himself if he was ever killed. But he didn't dare tell his own people the secret. Mogu are ambitious, and word of an emperor who might die permanently would tempt every warlord in the empire to make sure he stayed that way. So only Zulathra and the Zandalari held that key.
So Leishan has an immortality plan, backed up by an entire allied civilization.
Correct. Meanwhile, off to the west, near Uldum, something else was happening. Remember the Tol'vir guarding the Forge of Origination all this time?
The same people who had once followed Ra south alongside the Mogu.
They'd been isolated for so long they hadn't even heard about the Mogu Empire's rise. When word finally reached them, they sent ambassadors east out of pure curiosity, and what they found stunned them. Their Mogu cousins had grown incredibly advanced. Some had even reversed the curse of flesh completely.
That must have been a pretty loaded reunion.
Leishan greeted them warmly, gave them the full tour, the serpent spine, the golden palaces, all of it. And the Tol'vir were horrified by how the enslaved races were being treated. But they weren't there to intervene. Their whole purpose was guarding Uldum's machines.
And Leishan respected that.
He agreed completely. The Keeper's works were incredibly important. So important, in fact, that he announced he was simply taking them, all of them, including the Forge of Origination.
He just claimed it?
And then revealed why he felt entitled to. He told them exactly what he'd done to Raden. Beat him, stole his power, locked him away.
He stood in front of the Tol'vir and admitted that he had betrayed Ra.
And expected the Tol'vir to be impressed by it. As fellow Titan-forged, he offered them a place of honor in his empire, so long as he remained at the very top, forever. The Tol'vir's reaction was the opposite of impressed.
They refused.
Furious, in fact, vowed never to serve a traitor, and stormed out. Leishan let them leave. He wasn't worried in the slightest. He warned them plainly. He'd take what he wanted by force, whenever he felt like it.
And he actually believed that?
Completely. In fact, he was so confident about it that he decided to make an event out of it. He invited Zulathra himself to come witness what he called the Empire's greatest victory yet.
The guy holding the secret to his resurrection.
the very same. And Zulathra wasn't just tagging along for the spectacle. Lei Shen had already extended the troll's life. But true immortality, he claimed, would require more of the Keeper's greatest machines. That was all the troll elite needed to hear. Nearly every high-ranking troll in the Empire was more than happy to join the expedition as Lei Shen's honor guard, each of them expecting to return with the secret of eternal life.
So we've got the full Mogu war host, plus basically the entire Zandalari government, all marching toward Uldum together.
A genuinely massive procession. And when they arrived, the land around Uldum wasn't the harsh desert you've ever seen it in the game. Back then, it was lush. Waterfalls, jungle, pristine lakes stretching as far as anyone could see. A paradise nobody outside had ever laid eyes on.
That's a genuinely beautiful image to end on. Before whatever's about to happen.
Lei Shen's entire army rolled to a stop just short of Uldum's ancient stone pyramids, and out to meet them came a small handful of Tol'vir. That's it. No massive counter-army, just a small group standing their ground.
That doesn't sound like a fair fight.
Lei Shen certainly didn't think so. He mocked them openly. He knew he could crush that tiny resistance without even trying hard. And by every conventional measure, he was completely right about that.
So what were the Tol'vir actually planning?
They knew a straight fight was hopeless. So they'd prepared something else entirely, buried deep beneath the fortress. As Lei Shen's forces closed in, gloating, completely certain of victory, the Tol'vir activated the Forge of Origination.
Wait, isn't that the machine that can wipe out all life on Azeroth?
It is, but they didn't use it at full strength. They'd configured it to scour only the land immediately around Uldum. A localized purge. Just enough.
Just enough for what?
The ground itself buckled. Waves of reorigination energy erupted from beneath the fortress, stripping the surrounding land of life. Every Tol'vir defender standing there died instantly. And so did nearly everyone else on that field. Creatures across all of Kalimdor saw the flash on the southern horizon. When it faded, Lei Shen, his entire war host, Zulathra, and virtually the whole Zandalari leadership.
Gone.
Gone, instantly. The most powerful Mogu emperor in history, a man who had already planned his way back from death, standing at the head of the greatest army his people had ever assembled. Erased, in one single moment, along with almost everyone who came with him.
That is an enormous, almost absurd reversal. The exact moment he felt most certain of victory was the moment everything ended.
And the paradise around Uldum went with it. What had been lush jungle became a cracked, barren wasteland. Bits of life would slowly crawl back over the millennia, but the region never recovered its old vibrancy, which, if you've played through Uldum in-game, tells you exactly what you're looking at.
The desert we know now used to be paradise. Because of this.
Precisely because of this. And the surviving Tol'vir made sure nobody would ever try again. They sealed the mountain passes into the region with powerful illusions, hiding Uldum from the world entirely.
What about Lei Shen's body?
A handful of loyalists managed to recover it before the illusion sealed everything off, brought it home, enshrined it in something called the Tomb of Conquerors.
And his resurrection plan? The one only the Zandalari knew?
With almost the entire Zandalari leadership dead on that same battlefield, most of the Zandalari leaders Lei Shen had trusted with that secret died beside him.
You know, thinking back to where we started, the exiled warlord's son who just wanted his people to stop tearing themselves apart.
And he did. He united the Mogu and built the greatest empire they had ever known. Then, at the height of it all, it ended in an instant. One fatal miscalculation made while mocking the very people who stopped him. No successor ever matched his power, and neither the Mogu nor the Zandalari truly recovered.
And that's our question for this week. From around 15,000 to 12,200 years before the Dark Portal, Lei Shen rose from an exiled warlord's son to the most powerful ruler of his age.
By Warcraft's ancient history standards, roughly 3,000 years isn't actually that long. So what do you think truly brought him down? Was it the arrogance of believing no one would dare defy him? Was it his inability to imagine that the Tol'vir would choose destruction over submission? Or had he built an empire so completely around himself that one fatal mistake was always going to bring everything crashing down with him?
Lei Shen was gone, but the rulers who followed him carried on the same brutal rule. Next time, how the Pandaren finally rose up against the Mogu and won their freedom. If you enjoyed this one, subscribe so you don't miss what comes next.
If you're learning English, or if some Warcraft terms felt confusing, tap the video link in the top right. Our vocabulary episode explains useful English expressions from today's story, along with the Warcraft terms we mentioned. See you next time.
See ya.